In today's episode, Melissa asks, how can companies leverage data, their most valuable asset, as a competitive advantage? This is a really interesting question. It's an important question and something that we're answering at IBM's Win with AI Summit. Full disclosure, IBM does compensate me to attend these things, mostly with like shirts. Data has sort of six major outcomes that companies should care about in terms of what the data becomes. Most companies, most of the time, will use use case number one, which is data as the end product for internal use at the company. From that data, we do analysis to figure out what happened. We use qualitative research to figure out why, and then we set strategies, tactics, and execution from those analytics and insights. And that is a great use of data. That is a very smart use of data, but it is only one of six potential uses for that data. Now, the second use for data within a company, the second way we can leverage it is as a training source. So all machine learning, all artificial intelligence requires training data. It requires data to help the machines build models that they can then use to predict or to understand new incoming data. So we need, for internal use, to have really, really good, clean, categorized, with proper taxonomies data that machine learning software can use to build its models. So that's the second use. And those are the sort of the two major internal uses of data, as the end product itself for analysis or as the training data source to build models, and then we use those models to run our businesses. Those are the internal uses. There's also four external uses for this data that can be a competitive advantage. The first is the data itself as a commodity to be packaged, to be shared, to be sold, to be published online. This is the raw data. So if you go to, for example, Kaggle or data.world or data.gov, these are places where you can actually get data sets and work with them. So you would publish them. There are obviously plenty of data sets that you have to pay money for. And so this is where it becomes a competitive advantage and a revenue generator for a company to say, hey, here's our anonymized, clean, prepared retail shoes data set, as an example. And people could take that data set and then use it, depending on how trustworthy it is, for their own data efforts. If they need to append or augment their own internal data with your data, they could do so. So if a company has, for example, strategic partners, that data set could be an enormous asset for those partners to be able to leverage. The second external use would be data analysis as a commodity. That, again, something you would package and sell. So not just the data itself, but your analysis of it is something that you can go and sell in the marketplace. Your insights would be the third thing you could sell, because, again, insights answer the question of why and typically require additional market research to bring the data to life. My colleague Tom Webster often says data is not insight, which is absolutely true. Data is the raw material. Insight is the cooked dish, if you will. And so you need to have those insights. If you're drawing those insights from your data anyway, you could certainly publish those insights as something that you could sell on the marketplace. For my company, Brain Trust Insights, we did a women's retail shoe study, taking search data and turning it into guidance for marketers who are in the fashion industry to say these are the days and times of the weeks when certain types of shoe or certain brands will be most prominent in the fall. And finally, the last area where data can be a strategic advantage or a valuable asset is in those machine learning models. Now, this is where you would, instead of giving someone the data and saying, hey, good luck building your own model, you could actually take the pre-packaged training model that you built for your own internal use and sell that or share that in marketplaces for sale. For example, if you're using IBM Watson Analytics, there is the Analytics Exchange. You can actually share your models, your workbooks, and things with other members of the IBM community. If you are working with things like Watson Studio, you can import Keras or TensorFlow or other models, or either the code to generate the model or the model itself into Watson Studio. So again, you can see how taking those models, not the data, but the model built from the data, and being able to share that as a strategic asset is a way to really bolster your competitive advantage or to improve the value of data as an asset. In the latter case, in machine learning models, but even in the data itself, another application, if you don't want to sell it, is to open source it and then have your community contribute to it, either cleaning it and tagging it, for example, or rerunning or improving the model, fixing your code even. And so all of these are ways that you could then re-import those changes back into your production ecosystem and make better models, which lead to better analysis, which leads to better insights. All of this is contingent upon having clean, compatible, well-chosen data internally, complete data that's relevant. And so having good data is sort of the foundation of this, but once you have good data, once you've gone through the very, very lengthy and arduous process of creating clean data, you can then leverage it in these 2 internal uses and these 4 external uses to bolster competitive advantage, to help strategic partners in your ecosystem, to make some money on it, and ultimately to make your enterprise work better. So a great question, a complex question, and get thinking about who else could use this data. Whenever you're working on a data set, who else could use this data? Who else could benefit from this data? And that will give you some insights as to what else you could do with the data to turn it into a greater advantage, to turn it into a revenue source. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. If you want help with your company's data and analytics, visit braintrustinsights.com today and let us know how we can help you.